All right, we are on air. It is Thursday, August 6th. Happy Backdrop Day, as every Thursday. And we're just going to do a quick check-in on development info tasks for Backdrops. General announcements, we still have free PHP Storm licenses for Backdrop Contrib developers. So if you have a module, theme, or layout you are working on or supporting that's in the Backdrop Contrib repository, you can send an email to info@backdropcms.org. And we can send you a license key. Those. No updates from the PMC at this time. We do have a quick update on community growth. Nate, do you want to jump in on that?
Sure. So community growth, we're kind of stuck here at a total number of contrib authors, although I have heard from at least one more developer that's looking at porting some Drupal modules over to Backdrop. So currently we have 38 total contributed module authors, and if you are interested in joining the contrib authors group, then we have a group on GitHub for managing the operations of a bunch of things called Backdrop-Ops. And if you go to github.com/backdrop-ops/contrib, then that is the location where we do project reviews. If you ported a module to Backdrop and want to get it into the Backdrop contrib group, then you can apply there. We currently have 137 total projects for Backdrop CMS that are available on GitHub. No new projects since last week, but I have been seeing some maintenance on existing projects, which is fantastic because it's just as important that we get these modules maintained and supported over a long period of time as it is that we port over a whole bunch of new modules. So I think at this point, like we've got all of these critical modules, like of the top 50 modules, we've got like the top 45 either in core or in contrib. And it's important that we keep maintaining all of those modules that we've ported. So I'm not too bent out of shape about it. I haven't updated this number, but we have 53 total projects, roughly, with official releases. And when you have an official release, that synchronizes with backdropcms.org to get information to all of the sites that are out there running Backdrop and those contributed modules. Let's see. Next item on the agenda, we like to talk about infrastructure, things around the Backdrop project that sustain the development tasks and otherwise things that we're doing. And so we talk about, let's see, update checking for Backdrop CMS. This has been in place for months now, still working just fine. But one item on here that we talk about that I still haven't gotten to every week is Project Browser. So we're hoping to make it so that instead of making people navigate to GitHub or backdropcms.org to find modules, themes, and layouts, that they would be able to install those things directly from the user interface of their own Backdrop website. And in fact, they can already install those things, but they need to copy and paste a URL from somewhere, probably GitHub, to start the installation process. And what we want to do is make it so that we have a browsing interface inside of the CMS so that they can get those URLs and then leverage the existing system for installing modules and themes through a user interface that kind of populates that information for them. So that's currently held up on issue 870, which is right now an infrastructure task that that I need to set up a subdomain for backdropcms.org to be used explicitly for updates information. So yeah, I'm stuck on that one. I'm still hoping to do it in the near future, but there's a lot of stuff going on. So as soon as I can, I'll get around to doing that. Let's see. Next item, Drush for Backdrop. Drush is kind of stuck here. We have the capability of making Drush for Backdrop, or making Drush work with Backdrop, because Drush is already flexible enough that it could be made to work with Backdrop, but we need to write an implementation class to make it so that Drush knows how to do all the things it normally does with Drupal. It ships with the Drupal class that makes it so that it knows how to do things like Bootstrap and clear caches and things like that. And we can do that same thing for Backdrop, but we need to include that in Backdrop or as a contrib project, and then Drush will pick it up and use it. So the functionality is in Drush. It's on our plate to write some implementation there. And that's been stalled out for a little while. Anybody that gets a chance to take a look at issue 47, that would be highly appreciated to kind of push that out of the rut that it's in. John, I'll let you talk about the primary website because I know that you've been doing some work in that area.
Sure. So the last few weeks we've been finalizing designs for the modules, themes, and layouts pages, which will help people find modules, themes, and layouts more easily than they currently can on GitHub. And last week, I think after our meeting, I went in and created the actual views that generate modules, themes, and layouts. So if you want a sneak peek, they're not styled yet, but the listings are there. So if you go to /modules, you can see all of the modules that have been aggregating on our website, which is great. If you click through to the module page, also not styled yet, that's like the default node display, you can see some useful information like the README file that's being pulled in from GitHub and the download link that's on there. So I think we're ready to go. Whenever Wes has time, he can start working on those, which sounds great. There are a bunch of things in it might be access restricted on there. We can undo that so you guys can take a look at that after this call. But there are a couple of things that we don't have user integration yet for, like getting direct access to the Git information, like the project repository URL and other. Everything that's there is solid enough to launch with, and I think that anytime we add views integration, we can then add a field and we'll get something else added to the view and we can style it. But I think having the listing there is good enough to, let's get it done first and then we'll fix it later, add more later. So I'll go ahead and turn off the admin listings now that those are working enough that it's not embarrassing. So you guys can take a look later today. And I think, Wes, you have a login to the site and you have the designs, so we should be able to hit the ground running on that. And then there's just a couple of follow-up tests to getting those last few pieces of information that really make it super usable as opposed to just sorted out in the next few weeks too. So that's super exciting. And then coming soon, we'll also start setting up a showcase so that people who have built sites with Backdrop can show them off. We'll set up a service listing. I know there's a whole bunch of companies that have added their logos and names and links to their site as supporters. We want them to be able to actually list what services they might provide. So if they're a design agency or development firm, they can categorize that just like they do on Drupal.org. And people will be able to find companies and agencies that provide services specifically for Backdrop. And then Drupal is also really so if you have a job, you're looking to hire someone, or you're a developer and you're looking to find a job in Backdrop, knowing that there's a place you can go to find those listings is good. We could also use that to generate a little revenue, which might offset the costs of hosting the site. So hopefully there's a way that can all work out beneficial for everyone. It's worked really well for Drupal, so we should try it as well. And then the last thing that I want to do is an events aggregator. Right now we have a Google Calendar that we manually update with events that are Backdrop friendly. As we start having Backdrop specific events as opposed to Drupal events that Backdrop talks might be at, we're probably going to need a place to go to find those Backdrop events, and it would be great if when that happened we had a website that they could plug their own events into or go to search to find events in their area. So I think just setting up some calendar that they could search by location or something on there might be a great way to solve that problem as well. So those are in our future. Right now I'm just excited that we finally got the modules, themes, and layouts kind of up, so one step at a time. So back to Backdrop, the product itself. Those are the kind of infrastructure tasks that we're working on right now. The product itself is coming along really well. Backdrop 1.1.3 is our next bug fix release that we're getting ready to work on. We don't have any serious enough bugs that have recently been fixed that we need to release something. There haven't been any security issues or anything like that recently on Drupal that we need to squish in. But we will get that release out as soon as we find something important enough that we feel like we need to cut it. But other things we're working on that are more exciting, also more expensive, are the features that we're planning on putting in 1.2. So in 1.2, most exciting thing we've been working on is the rich text editor. And Nate, do you want to give us an update on where that is?
Yeah, this is really exciting. Anybody that's been following the queue, you already know we merged. Yay! So we have WYSIWYG in core now. CK editor was merged in this week, which is really exciting. That's issue 101 if you'd like to see where everything is currently at there. Or you can just pull down the latest 1.x branch and check that out. The CK editor module is not turned on if you do an update right now. It's just there. So if you're upgrading an existing site, and this will happen, I think, for the 1.1 to 1.2 release, if you upgrade, everything will stay exactly the way it is, unless you explicitly turn on the new CK editor module. But of course, we're going to ship it out of the box turned on. There's a follow-up issue to work on that. But let's see. So the follow-up issue is issue 1087. 1087 has a number of WYSIWYG tasks that we need to do to follow up, including enabling out of the box, doing image uploading through the image dialog, some work on the filter pages and the way filter tips work. But then we will be in a very, very good place. Actually, this week I've been working on the image uploading, and the image uploading is coming along just fantastic. I already have it on parity with Drupal 8. Porting over the existing patch was a piece of cake, which makes it so that you can upload an image through a dialog. But there's some deficiencies in the approach, and I'm trying to fix them out and make something a little bit more flexible. Right now, it's either one or the other. Either you can use a URL or you can upload a file, and if you turn on one, then it disables the other ability, which is kind of obnoxious because I think that people will want to use local files, they'll want to use remote files, like or files that are in like the themes directory. There's all kinds of use cases you'd need for supporting both. So that's coming along great, and I'm feeling really, really great about getting that really well done for the release next month. That's all I've got. Date fields, that's the next item. So besides WYSIWYG or CK editor, we're trying to do some expansion of the fields that we ship out of the box, including date, link, and email. And date module looks like it's coming along really well. Graham72 is taking the lead on that, and he's doing a great job working on making a core-ready version of date module. And I think that's actually come along really pretty well. I think he mostly needs review right now. Functionality-wise, as far as I've been able to find, he's really been pushing that forward. So if anybody has a chance to take a look at issue 478, issue 478 is the add date to core. Give the current code a review and try to help Graham understand what needs to be done left there, then that would be the most useful thing we could do to push that one forward. The next module, link module. Link module, Jeff, Serendipity, has been moving that one forward. Fantastic. And Jeff, since you're here, would you be interested in giving us a short update?
Sure. It's going well. You helped me move it along with some comments and some other people, Dr. Wilmot. And I think we're looking pretty good. We need to start going through the tests. That's basically the crux of it now.
Cool. Yeah, I think that looks great. the functionality, yeah, just touched it all out, and it all worked fantastic. There's some stuff that needs to be removed, some cruft that doesn't apply to us, stuff like devel and migrate integration should be moved to their respective modules instead of being in core. And the only thing I'd like to see, and this doesn't have to be before release, is cleaning up the user interface for configuring the link, because it's a little overwhelming. Like, there's just so many options in there. But we discussed it in the issue that we don't plan on removing any functionality because that would make compatibility really hard to maintain. So the best we can do is clean up the user interface a little bit for creating a link field, which probably will mean moving some of the more esoteric options into less prominent areas, like in a field set. Okay, let's see. And the last one is, the last module we'd like to include in the next release is email. And email field, this issue has not been really given any attention. There's already a contrib version of email module, and email is actually a really simple module by comparison with all the other ones. And so if anybody's interested in taking that on, Paul, we've actually been having a hard time filling up your time. If you get a chance, maybe that would be a nice hefty task. Actually, it's not that hefty, but actually making some new functionality to prepare it for core, which basically consists of taking the contrib module and then working it, trimming it down a little bit, and then filing a pull request to just put it in core. That's pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much the way it goes. It's not actually very difficult. You can take a look at the link and date modules, both of which are at pull request status right now. It's basically take the module, put it into core, and then file a pull request. That's the starting point of it. So maybe that would be something good to populate your time. Okay, and that's all we've got. There's a bunch of other stuff that are nice to haves in the 1.2 release, but none of them are critical. But things like layouts, there's a huge number of follow-ups for layouts to make layouts more powerful out of the box, and some things around making our UIs more responsive. Darius filed a great issue about making menus responsive, or having some options to come with a hamburger menu or something like that. And I think that would be another great thing for us to have. But all of those things, we've got priorities, and then all of those things, if they happen, then that would be great. But nothing, even the priority issues, will hold up the release that will happen next month. So anything that's ready will be in, and anything that's not will just have to wait until the next release. Jen, do you want to take it back over?
Sure. So in terms of Backdrop, the product, I think we're looking really good. There's a couple of other little things we work on all the time, like user experience issues and developer experience issues. Those are tagged with special square bracket indicators on GitHub, and I think it's really important that we keep working on those, because if we want to appeal to a WordPress market, it's got to be easier to use and easier to write code for, especially front-end code. They've got a huge front-end developer community, and we've got to make it easy for people to get into writing themes for Backdrop as well. So I'm looking forward to making that process easier and easier for people going forward. So we'll just keep an eye on those issues as well. I did week after this meeting, we have a little sprint where we get together in IRC and we all talk about things and work on things together. But IRC is a very developer-focused environment. It's working really well for us right now because we're all mostly developers and we have no issue communicating in that medium. But there have been a bunch of issues brought up on Reddit and on GitHub about trying to build more community around Backdrop, maybe in ways that are more focused to the new people that we would like to attract to Backdrop, but not necessarily us old crony developer types. So I don't know that this is necessarily worth talking about right now, but I did want to mention to all of you to put your thinking caps on and try and think about things we can do to help foster community around Backdrop. Now that we've gotten to a point where the code is looking really good and we're on track for our next release, I think the big thing people are going to be comparing when they're looking at deciding whether they want to move to Drupal 8 or Backdrop is the community around the software. And Drupal has a really strong community, or has historically had a really strong community, and that's going to look really attractive to people. And Backdrop is new, and I think that that's something that people are going to be worried about, like where does our community meet? How do we talk? How do we function? And I think it would be good to start putting our little brains together and trying to figure out how to foster more community. I think these meetings are really useful. I think getting together at Drupal events and having our own Backdrop events is going to really help that. But I think having a stronger online community. We have GitHub, we have a Reddit. I'm not sure that's enough. So I think just start thinking about it, and we'll open up some issues next week and start having some conversations around what we might do and how we can measure success in those areas. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about right now. Upcoming events, we've had a whole bunch of really fantastic past events. Last weekend there were 3 Drupal-friendly events in the same weekend, which is great. Wes said his talk went really well, which is great. I talked to Alex earlier this week. He said his talk went really well down in Costa Rica, which is really great. I think things are rolling forward at extreme speed, which is fantastic for everyone involved. Upcoming at the end of this month, we have Drupal Camp LA, which is August 29th through 30th. We have Nerd Summit in September, and we have more events after that. The biggest event on our horizon, at least in terms of Backdrop land, is the Backdrop Summit, which is our first Backdrop-only event, which is going to be held at Badcamp, which is October 22nd. And today I submitted content for what I thought we should cover in that summit, which I think should be a morning of quick introductory talks to get people up to speed on what Backdrop is, including a why of Backdrop, a what's different from Drupal 7, a quick theme development task, how to port a module, and then what it looks like to upgrade a site. And I would love to get as many speakers as possible to talk in that series of sessions, and keeping them short I think is good, because we're going to have a bunch of people there who maybe aren't interested in code, but they need to know the big high-level concepts, and so keeping the technical stuff keep them interested in everything else we have to say. So if you're interested in presenting on any one of those topics, or if you have other topics you think might be super relevant, I would love to get your guys' feedback and put you on the schedule for that. So if you're not planning on coming to Badcamp, think about coming to Badcamp. There's a scholarship program. If you're an active contributor in any open source project, that would be a good application submission criteria. And we can try and help get you out and put you to work. In terms of the afternoon, I think we should just do workshops, and I think that should be driven by whoever comes to the summit. So if we have a bunch of core developers, we can do some core development sprint stuff. But if we don't, if we have a bunch of introductory people, we should maybe do Q&A sessions, or talk specifically about concerns or use cases that those people have about Backdrop in their environment, or some particular module that they need and they're not sure if it's going to exist. So maybe we can do a sprint in porting the module, or just stuff that I think is relevant. I think it's going to be a great event. I'm really excited to have our first. We're going to have T-shirts with dragons on them, so everybody get really excited about the T-shirts. They are coming. They'll be here in October. So definitely consider heading out to Badcamp. I think it's going to be a really exciting event this year. Okay. I think we want to talk about, definitely covered a lot of new stuff this time, but are there any questions or thoughts or anything we should talk about today? It's not on the agenda.
Yeah, it looks like Andy's got a couple of questions, but he's suggesting that we maybe have separate meetings to actually talk about them.
Yeah, I think that would also be really good too. I mean, I don't know how many of these things are still going to be problems that need to be solved by October. Hopefully we can get some progress on some of these before then, but I think these are great ideas, Andy. They include the data, what is the preferred way to do similar things like responsive menus and modals, which we did in Drupal 7. How do you do that in Backdrop? And other issues that people are going to come up with a Drupal solution that has a different solution in Backdrop, and can we either document that solution or decide in some cases on what that should be. And I think that as people start using Backdrop for different things, they're going to be running into lots of similar questions like this. Hopefully we can get them answered, some of yours, Andy, at least before October. But if not, I think having specific breakouts to problem solve, make decisions and document those decisions would be fantastic. Right, are there any other questions or concerns? It looks like Dr. Wilmot just added here that after we release 1.2, which is going to be September 15th, maybe we should take a minute to focus on what is missing from Contrib and put all of our effort into making sure that our Contrib world is covers all of the bases that are necessary. I think that is a great idea. I think we should be doing that already. I think we have a limited number of hands on deck, which is why it hasn't happened yet. I also think that will start to happen when more and more people start building sites with Backdrop. Right now we have a lot of good stuff going on in core, but we don't have as many sites running Backdrop as something like Drupal does. And with every site that needs to solve a specific goal, they're going to do so in Contrib, and Contrib will get stronger. Our first year, which has been, so about September to September, has been about making core strong enough that people will look at the software and say, I choose the software because of the features. You're right that the software doesn't stand on its own. It's a lot about the community as well. Like, I choose the software because of the community is what happens in Drupal. That said, I still think the software needs to be comparable to Drupal 8. So I think what we should do is looking at see if we can pick some easy wins so that we don't start standing still in terms of progress in core. Pick some small things that will get us, closer to being feature comparable with Drupal 8, and put them in quickly and easily so that we can spend more of that time also working on Contrib stuff. I know I've got a big client project coming up in Backdrop that is in the design phase right now, and I cannot wait to start working on it. That's going to make me spend a bunch more of my time in Contrib land. I have a feeling similar things are happening for a bunch of other people too. Like, as you start working on sites using Backdrop, you start spending more of your time in Contrib because those sites will have real-world needs and those will get better. Yeah, we're also going to need to spend some time doing migrations, right, as people are deciding to go from 7 to Backdrop or even from 6 to Backdrop. That's going to be some time spent there too. So I like the idea that we should stop and evaluate what's missing from Contrib. I'm not sure we should stand still in core in order to do that. I think we could decrease the scope of what we're doing in core to make the point smaller in terms of the amount of changes that are going in, but I don't think we should stand still entirely or postpone 1.4 for 3 months. But yeah, definitely good ideas, and I think we should figure out how we can do both. Okay, are there any other questions? All right, well, I guess that's it then. If you do think of, well, here's another question, hold on. Multiple people are thinking about importing from WordPress, but what is the best way for Backdrop? Yeah, I don't know. There is a WordPress importing module from Drupal. that we could try and port that works for Drupal 7. Feeds is also good if you're just trying to get data. We're definitely going to need feeds in Backdrop land. We also could port migrate. There's a migrate for Drupal 7. There are lots of opportunities, different options. I would say we'll just have to try them. A lot of these questions are unanswered because nobody's done them before. We're starting to venture into new territory, and I think that having the questions is good. Coming up with answers, even if they're wrong answers, is better, right? Try something and be like, hey, everybody, don't try whatever. Right? This stuff will probably be new, too, right? We're going to come up with a problem that has a Drupal solution that we don't like, and we're going to do something different. There's a lot of new technology out there that we can learn from and use and try things in different ways too. So time will tell. We'll figure it out as we go. Okay, well, we can take any more questions that come up on Twitter or in IRC. Lots of great ones today, so good thoughts, guys. And yeah, let's figure out where we want our future to go. Thanks, everybody, for joining today. Nice big group. All right, we'll see you on the internet.